Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Stalin from Swedish Semi Steel. Very warm good afternoon to everyone, and it's been a real privilege to welcoming you all for this webinar. And so, Swedish Semi Steel has been conducting a series of webinar throughout this pandemic. So, we take this as another opportunity to get in touch with all the social media members through this webinar. So, just let's get started on this webinar. So myself, I'm Stalin Lakshmikantan. I'm handling Trulox product for Swedish Semi Steel, and I would be your speaker for today. And the topic which we are going to cover for today is modern pre-hardened steel for injection molding applications. So most of the mold makers available here would be having a fair amount of idea of a certain kind of pre-hardened steel which you will be using, like P20 or P20HH. So this is a bit modern in the production, but it's also modern in the user interface that it provides, that this steel provides to you. So this will be a replacement for your H13 and D2 kind of requirement in your inserts also, but in a pre-hardened form. Interesting, right? Let's get into it. To summarize, what you would expect out of this webinar. I'll just try to summarize what you can expect out of this webinar. So we'll start with a brief about our company, Swedish Semi Steel, and also the mill, SSAB. And we'll just have a certain part of the webinar being dedicated to how Trulox is different in the production and how it is different both on the production side and how it is going to be different in your tool making activities. So Trulox, there's been in pre-hardened steel. I believe most of you would be having your own apprehension about how to measure the steel. So we'll be also covering on what are the different parameters that you need to use to measure this steel. We will also look into a certain comparison between Trulox and other conventional tool steel grades which have been presently using. And we'll also look at some of the case studies around the globe, majorly focusing on injection molding applications. So once again, we are Swedish Semi Steel and we supply special steels and complete wear solutions. We are based in Middle East and Indian subcontinent. In India, I'm handling the operations. We are based in Bangalore and with offices in both Pune, and we have customers spread across the country. We, Swedish Semi Steel, run with the motto of offering highly local and highly technical service. That's how we have gathered many customers across the country. We also do have a strong relationship with our mill, SSAB, and we have a long-standing relationship with them for the past 2 decades. So you'll be curious, what is Trulox? Trulox is a multi-purpose, ready-to-use engineering steel. As you can see, it is based on a high-strength, low-alloy concept. It comes in 2 different forms, Trulox 33 and Trulox 44. 33 is a 30 HRC pre-hardened steel with a toughness of 100 joules. This, you can see, it is incomparable to your regular P20 grade of steels. And Trulox 44 is delivered at 45 HRC with a toughness of 30 joules. This is incomparable to your P20HH, your H13 or your D2 grade of steels, which are you using for your inserts. So this, I said, this has been produced by SSAB. They have been an expert of producing advanced high-strength steel for the past 100 years. And we have a strong collaboration with them for the past 20 years. So we are handling both Indian subcontinent as well as the Middle Eastern market for this product. And this product Trulox comes in the form of both plates as well as bars. So plates comes from 5 mm to 165 mm, and the bars come from 16 to 353. Shall we move on? Okay. Okay, let's see how it's been produced. So as you can see, this is a blast furnace. So we use blast furnace and not the electric arc furnace of the previous generation. So it happens with the modern production techniques, and this is one among them. So rolling mills, you can see the hot slabs coming out of the rolling mill. And this is in slight summary, which you can say that it encapsulates the total R&D which is involved in making of the Trulox. So how Trulox as a product, as a modern pre-hardened steel, how it has been made. So this, as you can see, the hot slab, when it comes in, it is red hot condition and it changes into room temperature in a matter of seconds. So it has been water quenched, and for different thicknesses of the slabs at different angles, what is the quantity of water being injected, that all defines the property of Trulox. That's where you get a material wherein which it has an unique combination of high strength, high toughness, as well as high hardness. Interesting, right? Let's move on with more details. So here, see, Trulox as a material, as we have seen how modern it's been manufactured and how it has a unique combination of all three: high strength, toughness, and hardness. So it can be used in variety of engineering applications. So naming plastic molds, your cold forming, even at hot forming, since Trulox is tempered around 590 degrees centigrade. So you can use it for your hot forming as well as cold forming applications also. So since it has high strength as well as high toughness, you could find that you will be able to use those properties in high friction components, mechanical components, and low friction sliding components also. So since today's webinar we are focusing on injection molding application, we will look at how this material is going to help you in injection molding. So this is a small comparison between Trulox 33 and your regular P20 material. So this graph only gives you a fair enough idea of how the machining is very efficient with Trulox 33. As you can see, the carbides in Trulox is comparatively less when compared to P20. So if you're using a similar kind of thickness plate with P20 and Trulox 33, you can use the same tooling which you use for P20 with Trulox 33, but you'll be able to increase your milling. You'll be able to increase your milling speed by more than 40%. That looks really nice. That's where the different benefits of Trulox comes into picture. So you can either keep the speed as constant, I mean, either increase your milling speed and finish your mold very quickly, or you can keep your speed as constant and you can increase your insert life. So that's how Trulox helps you in offering a better machining properties and faster machining, that you can say. So this is also another graph which we have worked on and which we have tried and made this graph. And this would be, I mean, I think every mold maker would have used, along with P20 material, H13, D2, NAC 80, all kinds of other materials. So this being an annealed material, and it is in comparison with Trulox 44. Now let's see what is the time taken for Trulox 44 from raw material to finished stage. So as you can see, the graph, Trulox being 45 HRC, there is no need for you to do programming twice, both at the annealed condition as well as at 60 HRC. It is only one treatment since there is no heat treatment involved in it. So it's only one time programming, and you can do your direct final CNC, no need of any rough CNC and fine CNC. And obviously, being in 45 HRC material, the EDM level, I mean, the time taken to do the EDM is a bit higher. So, taking all these considerations, what we have seen is on a real-time analysis of H13 and Trulox 44, the manufacturing time from raw material to the finished product, you can save at least 25 to 30% of your total time. Adding to this, the heat treatment time and the cost involved is also an added benefit. What else do you need out of tool steel in your mold making activity? Yeah, let's add on to these kind of points in other slides. So as we have talked about this previous slides, so this is in comparison between the different grades of Trulox and the equivalent, more of an equivalent kind of grade available in the market. So if you take Trulox 33, it is incomparable to your P20 on 2738 P20 plus nickel. So here what the minimum, I mean, what you have for Trulox is, it is an guaranteed, it comes with guaranteed properties for all the different kind of mechanical as well as chemical properties. Having said that, it is the, you can say that it is an ESR grade of P20, which is not available in the market. So whatever metal you get without any bend, I mean, however the plate dimension be, if you're looking for a quality product, I mean, this is where you need to stop with Trulox. So that has been said, and Trulox 44, as we have already discussed, it is an 45 HRC material, and that we are trying to equate it to end-to-end H13 material. So for all your molds, I think most of the molds would require 45 to 48 HRC will be your end hardness which you require. So if in that case, there is no need for you to take an H13 or an D2 insert, do the machining and then heat treat it and then do the rework and do also all sorts of stuff. You can take Trulox at 45 HRC, you can machine it at 45 HRC, then you can directly put into use. That's how it's beneficial. The time that you save out of it, the ease in which you will be able to complete the mold is unmatchable when you compare with Trulox. And adding to these all benefits, you will also get, you can find the last line in this graph, there is a CEE, which means it's in carbon equivalent, and whichever material has a carbon equivalent of less than 1, that is very much helpful for the maintenance people, as well as you can do the thermal cutting with much ease, which is not that easy when you compare, when you have a tool steel in with you. So we'll see in the coming slides how it is, how you're able to do the thermal cutting. Then you will have a much better idea on that front. Shall we move on to the next one? Yes, please. So this is the texturing with Trulox 44 and other kind of texturing which is possible with other material. You see that it is homogeneous. Okay, so now we have come to a stage where in which I think for whomever who have joined that apprehension that you have out of that, how will I be able to machine in 45 HRC machine a material? Will I need to use expensive tooling to finish that? And whatever time and money that I'm saving out of heat treatment, will I be able to, will I need to reinvest in this machining? I think those questions will be answered in this. Let's see how. So for all the mold makers out there, I think Hasco would be an known name for you. So they are a famous mold maker based in Europe. So you can just Google out Hasco and Trulox. So they have recommended Trulox in their own brochure and Hasco's own brochure that their recommendation. And they have done their own testing with Trulox 44 as well as Trulox 33. And let's see what is their comments on that. So this is a test piece which they have done, Hasco with Trulox 33. Okay, so this graph gives you an very interesting insight into how the material helps you out in terms of both the costing as well as the quality material. That's where when you have the quality, the cost is very high. When you have the cost very low, you don't have the quality. I think Trulox matches both the things into a single platform, and this is how it does it. So when you compare a normal P20 with Trulox 33, you would find that the metal cost is almost 40% higher. But there is a catch here. The machining cost involved here is much lesser. So as we had seen in the previous slides, how it helps you in faster machining. So that helps you in lesser machining cost. And Trulox is internally stress relieved. There are no internal stress involved in Trulox. So which means that even after extensive machining, you need not do any stress relieving for the material. So this is how it happens, right? That you do a mold, a bigger mold, you do complex machining. You either do the stress relieving or you keep the mold idle for 1 or 2 days. So that's also time and that's also money. That's what you incur. With Trulox, it's not required for you to wait for so much days. As soon as you finish your machining, you can go on in completing your next task with the material. No problem. No stress relieving in the material. That's an added benefit for you. And grinding cost, obviously, it is higher. You don't have too much of bend in the material. So the total cost of the 70 hour of machining is is considerably lower when you compare that the input cost is 40% higher. That's how Trulox benefits you out. That even though that you invest 40% or 50% higher in the material, at the end of the day, for you to manufacture and take that component out, when you take the component out, you are spending less, and that's what you would be interested. Yes, let's see more of the product. So I mean, adding to the Trulox 33 test pieces which they have done, Hasco has already done also done machining on Trulox 44. And let's see some of their comments what they have mentioned. So milling with average speeds for hot milling is possible. Yes. So there is some very good behavior. I mean, when they drilled and did thread milling with Trulox with relatively low tool wear, they were able to do it. And long hole drilling also, I mean, up to 30 days, it is possible for them to do it. And they got absolutely fantastic results on the surface quality of the plate. And as we already discussed, this test piece was absolutely test stress free since there is no internal stresses available in the material. So these are some of the observations of them machining Trulox 45 HRC material. So now let's look at the turning recommendations for different grades of Trulox. So as you can see that, I mean, we do have a recommendation book for machining. I mean, it contains all the turning, milling, drilling, and tapping recommendation, and whomever is interested will be more than pleased to share it with you. So, coming to this turning recommendation, you can see that the feed rate being given for different grades of Trulox, and based on the insert that you're using, you can, based on trial and error, you can optimize your values. So this has been given based on our own working on the material. So I think within with if you're using within these ranges, you will be able to fine tune and get your optimal results. No problem with that. So these are the tapping recommendations for both Trulox 33 and Trulox 44. So different taps being given, and we recommend machine taps from 5 mm to M5 to M20, and we don't recommend taps below M5. So if you have M3, M2 taps, then we would recommend to go with thread milling. That is a slightly slower process, but I think that is much more beneficial when you come to this tapping. So tool recommendations for Trulox for drilling. So, I mean, for all the turning, drilling, and tapping, you would see that different kind of manufacture that is being given. I mean, this study has been done predominantly in Europe. You would find that the name of the manufacturers being all from Europe. No worries. I mean, you need not. I mean, if you use it, well and good. I mean, the similar kind of manufacture, the similar kind of tool nomenclature, well and good. But if you're not able to find in your locality, or if you are trying to for an cheaper solution, then you can ask your cutting supplier, regular cutting supplier, and ask him to provide a tool which is in line with these nomenclatures. I think they've been in the field for quite some time. They'll be able to recommend you of a different manufacturer, but of the same nomenclature as we are given here. And that also should work. There is no reason why it should not work. So we have ranges from diameter from 2 meter, 2 mm to 20 mm, and so that's the thing. That's the minimum possible drill range is 2 mm. I think that is more than enough for you to do all the things. So let's look at another high-speed rough milling, where in which here you can see that the insert which has been used here had a lifetime of 180 minutes, and chip volume removed is 162 centimeters square per minute. And total volume is approximately 30,000 centimeters square. So even after this extensive machining that we are done with Trulox, there is no required for you to polish it. So that's where we said that the block of Trulox doesn't have any internal stresses associated with it, and you need not require it to have any further demands. So not only the high-speed milling, traditional milling is also very much possible. This is with Walter W KP35S. These are available in the market very easily. And even in traditional milling, you'll find that you can find that the chips are very bluish, which means there is no stress induced in it. I mean, there's no stress which is being induced on the plate. I mean, everything comes out in the form of chips. So let's have a small video on the machining front. So it's not expensive machines of this. This is a standard tool room which we done in Pune. So as you can see here again, and the chips which comes out is all very bluish. As I already informed you that there is no internal stresses there, and work hardened doesn't happen in the material. Whatever stress being induced due to machining, it all comes out in the form of chips. So this is another interesting part where in which we discussed during comparison between Trulox and other conventional grades. We said that the carbon equivalent of the material is less than 1, and you will be able to cut a tool steel, which is not too common, that you will be able to cut using gas cutting a tool steel without any issues. So if at all you want to make any profile, there is no need for you to go in with square blocks and then size it to according to your profile. You can just directly cut it according to your profile and just measure out the heat affected zone. And that would save you enormous amount of sorry, enormous amount of time in production, right? So let's see how it's been done. So this is an 120 of Trulox 33, which has been gas cut. So as you can see, these are the kind of end product which is being manufactured. It's being cut like this. So gas cutting is absolutely possible, even with much thicker plates. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, for all those who are asking, okay, fine, you are saying that your material is 45 HRC. Okay, I'm having an application where in which I require 48 HRC or 50 HRC, or I require 55 or 60 HRC from my tooling. What should I do? I mean, how will Trulox help me out? I mean, we have an answer for that also. So Trulox is an excellent engineering substrate for any of the surface engineering things that you do out of the material. And so all these surface treatment processes like nitriding, which provides you high resistance to wear and surface pressures, your PVD coating, which is also extremely good in providing you good resistance properties to wear and corrosion. Induction hardening is also in good resistance to wear, but also it is an important area where in which if you want to have the case depth to be more than the normal kind of a surface treatment process, then you always can opt for induction hardening. And laser hardening, which is an upcoming very exciting surface treatment process where the surface treatment is very localized and you can only do you can only increase the hardness of the component only the area which you really want. So so that's thing you have a base material at 45 HRC which has very high toughness as well as strength, and adding to that it has an tempering temperature of 590 degrees centigrade, and we don't think any of the process of surface surface treatment process requires more than 590 degrees centigrade. So this would be more than enough for you. So nitriding you can achieve from 60 to 62 HRC, PVD you can achieve 70 plus, induction hardening you can achieve 50 HRC. We'll see what is the various hardness that each of the processes need to will achieve. So this graph gives you a rough idea of, I mean, this we have posted based on our own experience on using with the heat treatment. So for both the grades of Trulox, depending upon the what is the soaking time and what's the temperature that you need to maintain, and based on what kind of surface hardness and hardening depth you require, you can use these materials. And this graph would be very convenient for you to use whenever nitriding is being done. And adding to that, if you see induction handling also it is in as a combination with Trulox 44. It is especially is very interesting due to you can see the yield strength of the material is pretty high. So in turn that induction handling, wherever you feel that the application requires better case depth for the same, then you will find that you can use induction handling. And if you do induction handling, you can find that the hardness achieved would be anywhere in the range of 55 to 57 HRC, and the case depth of these will be around 2 to 4 mm. So these are the various parameters used in induction handling for Trulox 44, water quenching being the mode. And we have also done induction handling both the grades surface treatment as possible. That's the added advantage to that. You would find that the normal P20s would not um, test to these kind of times. So Trulox is much prepared for all the external pressures that you put on the material. So this is a Trulox 33 dia 91 materials, and this is how the induction hardening being done. So you can find the effective hardness depth is 4.02 in this particular item, and surface hardness achieved is 55 to 56. So it would be a good, I mean, this is a metal where in which you will be able to play with it. I mean, it's fun to use it. I mean, once you machine it, once you use it for one of the applications and you get to know about the metal, there are many ways in which you will be able to use the material. That's how it's interesting. That's how it is very fun to use also. So as I said, laser handling is an upcoming technique, and we have quite a few upcoming people in India who do this. So this is a bush which is used for shot blasting machine, which we have done. And hardness of the laser hardened Trulox would be 800 HP for Trulox 44, and Trulox 33 we can get around 700 HP. And thickness of this laser hardened surface is anywhere between 0.2 to 2 mm. Depending upon what is the application that you are using, you can decide what is the depth that you want for your application. So this is a 4 meter long shearing blade. So as you can see that so the width of the laser beam that you will be able to control. So I mean, you can really decide what is the localized area that you want the hardness to be increased. So that front can be used here with laser hardening. So depending upon your application, depending upon your needs, you can tweak, I mean, how exactly you want the material to perform, or how exactly you want to use this material for your different applications. That's where it is that's where it is very flexible. That's where it helps you out in different kind of applications. Okay, so we have completed two parts in which we have talked about the material, how modern techniques Trulox uses for production, and what is the different aspects of machining, and what is the different types of tooling which is required for handling Trulox, and also how it behaves with different kind of surface treatment processes. So having said that, now we'll look at how Trulox is useful for the plastic molds. So we'll look at the different applications around the globe. So for different applications, what are the different materials that it has replaced, and how it has helped customers to use it. Okay, so this question arises in your mind. Okay, you have two grades with you, Trulox 33 and 44. Okay, just different hardnesses, but based on the, I don't use a single plastic. I use different kinds of plastics. Which grade of material should I use, and what kind of treatment should I use? So for all your questions, I mean, we have a general rule for this, wherein which we have come out with in basic graph, which gives you a general idea of, for certain kind of plastics, this is an recommended, or you can say based on your experiences and what we have done. So this is the area where Trulox and Trulox for 33 and 44 can be used for different kind of plastics. For example, if you're using PP, Trulox 33 is enough. If you're using for nylon based material, then Trulox 44 is required. But if you're using for glass filled fiber, then obviously Trulox 44 plus nitriding is required, since it has more wear will happen. So an extra surface treatment is very much recommended. So this is what an adding element that you can do out of Trulox is that for all the items that you for all the Trulox 44 that you're using, or for any grade of Trulox, what you can have is you can directly put into use Trulox 44 for your prototypes. So since it's a prototype, you can immediately do it. And if you have any changes, you can just do the design changes and do any kind of surface treatment and put it for production. That's how majority of our customers do. So it can be used both for your prototypes as well as for your long-term production. That's how it is flexible, the material. Okay, let's run through certain applications wherein which it will be beneficial for you. So this is a furniture die which has been made with Trulox 44. The previous item it has been replacing P20HH. So we had issues of deformation and distortion in the previous material, which has been solved by Trulox 44. Okay, let's see the next one. So this is the polished part from Trulox 44. As you can see, it's well within reach. I mean, this polishability that you can take, the maximum polishability that it can do is around 5,000 to 6,000 mesh diamond paste. But if you're looking for 10,000 mesh, those kind of items, or 8,000 to 10,000 mesh, then it is not recommended. So the maximum Trulox can achieve is up to polishability level of 5,000 to 6,000 mesh. That's it. So this is again a plastic cover mold which is being done in Pune with a customer. We have manufactured the mold without any heat treatment, so it is used. I mean, Trulox 44 has been used and directly put into machine and put into operation. So customer had saved 1 week in total production time, which is a lot for all the mold makers. So you can find the polycarbonate plastic cover for headlight glasses. So this is Trulox 33, which is used for car motor sealing. So front grille of a Ford done by Trulox 44. So this is an interesting mold which is created with Trulox 44. This is an forged block which we specially manufactured for Audi. The previous being P20 HH. They had some issues with that, so we manufactured and gave them a pretty big block of 400 mm for this particular project. So this is for security belt guides, and so as you can see, the temperature of this molten plastic during injection is estimated to be around 200, and the equivalent mold surface temperature would be around 80 degrees centigrade. So there is no heat treatment here. Manufacturing time was reduced by 25 to 30%, and you can see the comment of the customer. The total mold cost was decreased by around 2.5 euros, so which is around 222 rupees per kg. So there is a lot of saving with using this material. Once you start using it, you will be able to feel it. So I can go on and on speaking about the merits of the material, but until the material speaks for itself, it will be very difficult for you to get in tune with this. But given the facts that it has, and given the facts that these are the testimonies which is coming out of various customers from around the globe, so Trulox should occupy your tool room very soon. That's how beneficial the material is. So Trulox is also used in the producing rear window clamping for the new Porsche. So this is the rear window clamping, wherein which we had used Trulox to manufacture this. So these are Volvo's lightning parts, which has been done in Turkey. So previously they were using 2738, and Trulox had a higher polishability than 2738. So cover for motorcycle lamp. So 1 week shorter manufacture time, much lower cost. And after that, they had made a full series with Trulox. So you can find the Trulox has also been made for mold of an door handle of an Fiat. So previous metal has been 12343, quenched and tempered with earlier Charles, and they had used with Trulox and they continue to do so. This is for Mercedes E-Class. Trulox has been used for the central tunnel. And this Trulox is used for glass fibers. So 50,000 components need to be produced. And they used Trulox along with nitride since it has glass fiber reinforced nylon components. So they were able to produce all the components like this without any much issues. So this is an interesting application again. So you have an polycarbonate plastic, but the metal uses H13 ESR, 2343 ESR. But here you have an 130 mm block, and it has been machined until a depth of 20 mm. 20 mm from 132 to 20. So if at all my material is going from 130 to 20 mm, and if they are able to, customers able to see very good results out of it, so then whatever properties that has been promised with Trulox, everything stands true. That is where it is very economical, beneficial, and surprising also. So that it is homogeneous, so the hardness level doesn't stay at 45 HRC at the surface alone. It is throughout the block, throughout the length and width of the plate. So it is a completely homogeneous material. So these kind of components also can be used. I mean, previous being H13 2344, and they'd have saved at least 5 days in the manufacture using this core using Trulox. And this is a plastic mold. I mean, tap of a space grinder. Nitriding will be done. So they find that the polishing is much better than 2378. Sorry, 2738. So this is another application wherein which this is for an LCD TV frame. The working material is ABS with 45% glass filled. So the customer has previously used A star, which is again an patented material just like Trulox, but that has not been in pre-hardened version. So they machine it and do it heat treatment just like any other hot working steel. But Trulox 44, there is no any heat treatment involved, directly machining and put into use. So 45% glass filled material, and you can see the tooling size relatively higher, 100 mm into 500 by 600. So they are facing issues of warpage and distortion after quenched and tempering after heat treatment. And they also saw the cracks being initiated during production runs. So all those issues were we solved using Trulox 44, and customers very much satisfied with the polishing result, the fine texture finish that Trulox gave, and obviously they didn't face any heat treatment risk, which is not required with Trulox. And they said that okay, fine, let it run till it runs. When we require, we'll do surface treatment. That's where it is. That's where Trulox is beneficial. That you can do. I mean, as I said before, you can take it for a proto. You can use it for certain amount of shots. And if you want to again improve it, you can just do in surface treatment and put it for production. So Trulox 40 plus chrome plating. So it is designed for finer components, which it can do. So again, Trulox 44 mold being machined. So this is the piece. So we can see that the piece dimension, I mean the size dimension is 80 into 1 meter by 1.1 meter. So here you can see that Trulox 44 without any surface treatment which has been used, and even after 5 lakh shots there is no problem. The metal being used is not the normal plastic, that is PS66 with 45% glass fiber. So even with glass fiber also you would be able to use, it is also possible to use without any heat treatment or without any surface treatment, to put it in right perspective. So you can use it with Trulox 44 if you want to improve your thing. Then you can wait for something to, I mean, some defects in the material, in the sense if you are facing some wear, then you can take out and then you can put your mold for any of the surface treatment process. Not required initially that you need to spend on that. So we have seen automotive, we have seen other areas of applications also. Now we are coming into Trulox 44, where it has been used in home appliances. So this is an core side of a kettle mold. So dia of 200 mm. So this is an area where we often get feedback from the customers that the metal that they use, so the diameter when it increases, they often don't have that crack resistance property in the material. That is where Trulox help. It is not that okay, fine, we have a Trulox metal from Sweden, so it is working good or working great. It has nothing to do with it. It's just basic science. So Trulox has the definitive mechanical and chemical properties, wherein which the properties acts as a step wherein which you will be able to solve whatever issues you're facing. Okay, fine. If you have an issue of cracking like this as customer has with your bigger diameters, yes, then Trulox helps you out. And how does Trulox helps? Since the toughness value of the Trulox is higher, which is much higher, you can say 4 to 5 times higher than your T2, hence it helps you out in solving that issue, so you don't have any cracks. So this is another component for Trulox 44. It's a glass shelf. Then raw metal used is PS. The weight of the part is half 427 grams. So the closing force of the injection press is 300 tons. So we have seen automotive, we have seen home appliances. So now we are having this hearing aid, which has been manufactured with Trulox also. So the application is where you have a wide range of applications where Trulox can satisfy the molding requirement on this part. So So we have come to the end of the webinar. So if I want to sum up whatever we have discussed, so the key takeaways for all the participants would be, so we have looked at the quality of the manufacturing process. So what are the stringent measures it's been taken to deliver a material of this quality? So there is no heat treatment required. It saves both your money and time. This is in pre-hardened version of P20, H13 and D2. Okay, fine. Everybody would have worked with P20 or in P20HH range of pre-hardened material. But what would I say that you already seen, right? That here is an opportunity for you to work with an H13 which is pre-hardened, a D2 which is pre-hardened. So that is the kind of flexibility that Trulox gives you as a material. And you also have looked at the case studies from across the globe. So I think as a combination of product and as a material, Trulox has very great things to offer you for all the mold makers available to you. And with this, we come to the end of this webinar. We thank Corondol for having a patient listening. So if at all you have any queries, you can just type in your questions so that I'll be more than pleased to answer. Thank you.